So material master is the central component. Material master is used across all departments, like in procurement, inventory, sales, plant maintenance, production, quality management, everywhere. Right? So material master is structured in such a way, like because material has some common features or like which will not change from department to department. For example, if I call a particular part with some name, like say casing in general data, that is common to all departments. It is not going to change between finance and production or inventory, right? So there is some common data like that, and there is some purchasing specific data like purchasing group or purchase order unit or some delivery tolerances like that. At the same time, for accounting, there is some specific data related to accounting. What is the valuation class? What is the moving, whether it is a moving average price or standard price, and if so, what is the price, etc. Right? Same way for storage location. What is the dimension? What is the storage condition where it is to be specified? And also like sales related, say what is the availability check we need to do, or what are the delivering plans if an order comes for that material like that. So there are at various levels data is maintained, but all under one umbrella called material master record, right? So let's see where the material master is specified, and that is created in logistics and in the materials management and in the material master menu and in that material, and there you will see create special and general, right? So when you know already what is the material type you are going to create, you might want to opt for create special, where it will automatically default the material type to a predefined and assigned in the configuration for that create special menu. Right? If I select raw material, it might be already assigned with some say ROH in the standard, unless someone changes it, right? But if you go to create a general, you might have to enter the material type, where there may be multiple material types already existing for raw materials, for example. Then you might want to select from those existing raw materials what are the types. See, somebody created say RAW, and there is ROH, there is ROH2, ROH, ROHD, so many are there. So which one you are going to use is defined in your business. So you know very well which material type you need to create. So you will come to this transaction general, right? Whereas if it is just one material type across company you want to use for say raw material, you might go for create special and double click. Here you see that raw material field is grayed out.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not even there.
Yeah.
It is invisible.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's close this. That is the only difference between special and general. Now you go to immediate and you select the raw material as ROH. That is the standard SAP's raw material. Right? It's not even ROH star. It is just ROH. Right? So somebody changed the names, whatever, but code is still the same. So we are good with that. Okay. So with this material type, we go for industry sector. We need to put the proper industry sector. So industry sector along with material type will control the screens, screen flow, and what are the data that you are going to maintain in your company. Usually industry sector will be just one across the company. And if it happens to be, suppose there are some different units, you might want to create more than one business unit for different industry sector, but practical, most of the times you will come across with one. So let's say I am creating an industry product or raw material for my mechanical engineering division, right? So in that, The material number, I will leave it to internal number. If I leave it blank, it will generate an internal number. Whereas if I put it with external number, what I want that to be created, it is defined in the number range, which range I can use to punch in for external numbering. And that is defined and assigned to material type in the configuration, right? We will see that where it is to be configured later. So let's say, for example, click select views. In this, we select what are the different views for this material that we are going to create, right? So basic data, for example, we use common across all departments. Say, let's say I want to, most of the times, raw materials, we use it for using it in the manufacturing, right? Say, we buy the raw materials, you use it to assemble or combine with some other raw materials and do some process to create a finished product that you can sell, right? But sometimes some raw materials you might still want to sell because, say, for example, you are assembling a car, right? As though the individual raw materials are combined to create a finished product, car, some point of time you might want to sell these raw materials as spares, right? So you might end up with creating a sales view for that, right? Even for raw material. So that point of time you will create sales views also for those raw materials, right? The sales organization data 1 and 2 represent at the sales org level, which is little above the plant level, right? And we generate data at the plant level also to make sure we will be able to sell the product from a particular plant. So at the plant level, there will be some little different data from the sales org level. That's the reason you will see 3 different views. 1 and 2 are just part of the broader data that we maintain, an extension from sales organization data from one screen which cannot be accommodated. They added it to the second screen, right? That's the same thing with basic data 1 and 2, right? And say purchasing view, right? And there is something called purchasing organization text also. Let's say add it, nothing wrong. I'll talk about that what it is. And there are some planning data required. Let's say I add MRP1 data where I would be maintaining the requirements planning data when it is to be procured. I will add say MRP2 also for procurement. And then go to storage view data, right? Because I need to do inventory transactions for this material. I'll be selecting storage location views. And warehouse management comes into picture when a material is to be stored in the bin level within a very big warehouse, for example, and you would like to track it at the exact location where the product raw material is stored, so that in out of your thousands of raw materials and different materials across in the warehouse, you would be able to pinpoint the location and place it there. And also when needed, you pick it there, and you want to do some counting within a bin for the same material. Like that, you can do several processes within a big warehouse. That is when you will activate warehouse management module. When you activate that, you will be activating the warehouse management 1 and 2 views, right? So until then, you will not be touching those. So for now, let's say we maintain only storage views and go forward. And let's say you want to maintain a quality management view, right? So where, for example, you procure raw materials, which definitely may require some quality inspection, right? Vendor sends, I mean, by all possible means, it may be good, but unless you establish some fixed perfect contract with vendor, okay, most of the times the product is good, but there may be some checks you may need, so you can activate some type of different random checks also if needed. But otherwise, if you activate simple quality management activation, whatever you receive, it will go to quality check, and someone has to accept and process it, then only it will be put back into store, right? So that is when you will activate quality management view. And if you want to maintain a product from the inventory plus accounting view, accounting is only for valuation. Say, for example, you receive raw material. What happens? Your stock account will be debited, right, when you receive. And it will create the offsetting account called GRI or clearing account. That is for now not needed. Let's say it will add the stock value. So, and also quantity. Quantity is touched based on the storage view where you receive it into inventory. And value is touched based on the either valuation is at standard price or moving average price, and based on the price component. If it is standard price, it picks from the metal master. If it is moving average price, it uses the purchase order price to update the total value of the material, right? And it will update it in the accounting views, right? So for now, let's say these are the views I would like to create, and say click continue and put the values for the plant. Let's say plant, we have a key, and storage location we have AK01, right? And I know we haven't created any sales organization views, and sales organization itself is not created. So let's skip these two values at this time, and let's say enter. So it will create the basic data views, etc. So let's say raw material. This we can say like engine valve. Okay. Let's assume that ours is a mechanical engineering field, automobile engineering area, and you need engine valves, right? So basic assumption is, let's say it is stored in inches. So what is the base unit of measure? Meaning it is the lowest level in a storage where you can keep the stock keeping unit in the of the material. So I'll explain. For example, you want to store these engine valves in eaches, meaning when you receive 2 each, and you will be able to store it in the store with 2 each as the quantity. When someone wants it in a assembly shop or in the repair shop, for example, one valve they need, they come to store and it will they will request you to issue 1 engine valve, so you can issue it in 1 each. Done. Whereas, for example, if you receive it in packets, right? Let's say a small pack of engine valves from your vendor, right? And each pack may have 6 valves, right? And based on that, if you presume and add base unit as a pack, so package becomes the lowest unit of measure in the system. When someone wants to issue a valve which is just 1, but whereas you maintained only the pack as the lowest unit. So how can you issue that? Right? So to avoid that, you will be maintaining the lowest stock keeping unit where you can really transact, issuing, receiving, moving, etc. You maintain the lowest possible unit in the base unit of measure. I will give you another example. Let's say you receive nails, right? Nails will be in the pack, right? And you want to count 1, 2, 3, 4 nails, and nobody will ask you to issue 2 nails or 3 nails coming to store, right? So you might want to issue a pack of nails as is. Suppose you receive 100 packs, 100 packages of nails from a vendor. Each package may have, say, some 150 nails, right? You don't open it and count 1 by 1 and issue it. So you will simply issue a pack. So that point of time, you will put base unit of measure as a package, like PKG or whatever.
So it depends on what material you're using.
What material and what is the comfortable base unit of measure that you will define based on your general transaction.
Because you already know a pack of it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And another question I have. So in this case, are we the vendor?
I'm an organized corporate where I do have my own manufacturing and distribution and sales. So I am producer of or repair shop of the engines, for example.
Okay.
So I am not the vendor. I am actually a manufacturer. I am procuring these engines. So even while procuring, even while manufacture, even while selling, I keep maintaining a material master data in my system.
Oh.
So this material, what I create 2978, which has the engine valve as the description, will be used all across processes.
Okay.
When I order a purchase order to a vendor, when I send a purchase order to a vendor, I send, hey, send me 2978, meaning engine valve, in say 10 pieces. That is the PO it goes. When I receive a customer order for spare, say engine valve, I may receive an order saying, hey, for 2978, which means engine valve, I need 3 valves. Right?
Cool.
So I'll be distributing or sending 3 valves to my customer. Say from a production shop floor, I get a request for issue of 2 valves from the store. So he will ask me, hey, I need 2 valves for my shop floor for repairing a particular customer order.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he may need to order 2 valves from me. So that is the purpose. So I am manufacturer. I'll be dealing with my vendor using the same material. I'll be dealing with customer using the same material. I'll be dealing with shop floor for production to issue these raw material using the same material. I may be using it in the repair, in the maintenance, in my plant maintenance using the same. A quality guy checks these valves using the same material. So now you see the integration of all the departments into one single material master. And even the accounting view will be maintained for the same material, which says in a particular plant what is the valuation. Right? So that is called integration. So this basic data, what you see on the screen with the description and unit of measure is common across all the departments. That is why it is general data. It is generalized for all departments.
Right? And then all are specific to you.
Yes, yeah. And now I'll put material group. So this is engine parts, maybe mechanical engineering. Let's see if there is anything related to engine. And I will search based on the, let's see. You see here, it shows a limited list, right? Remove this 500, it will show the entire material groups. In this, when you search, you may find the part what you want. See, there is. I will select that as the material group, right?
Yeah.
And you want to maintain a, suppose you are implementing SAP in an existing client, the customer may be, the client may be using the some other ERP, some other system. In that they call this engine valves as say ENGV, VLV. Okay. Assume, right? So if you put this in the world material number, what it is saying is, for this material in the new system in SAP, where you call in the previous their old legacy system, they may be calling it as like this, right? So you can relate if somebody says old material number ENGVLV to the new material 2978, which is engine valve. Okay. So that's the purpose.
Yeah.
And if you want to put gross weight, net weight, etc., for each engine wall, say, for example, gross weight maybe say some 200 grams, right? And it has come back, and I will put net weight, say some 190. So yeah, net weight will be either equal to or less than the gross weight always.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to put volume, you can put, and the size, dimensions, etc. And for now, I am not putting it over here. And you put into basic data view, let's say to view. Let's say if there is a environmental constraints on this material, you can put it.
Yeah.
Mechanical part, I don't see any environmental constraints, right? And now go to the sales. We don't create because there is nothing to be, there is no sales organization, etc.
Yeah.
Now in the purchasing view, you can put, this came from the basic data view.
Yeah.
So you are seeing purchasing view at plant level, right? So in this plant, for this material 2978, the data what you see is pertaining to the plant, whereas some data you maintain from the other views copies into this one, which means this is not at the plant level. It may be from some other level.
Yeah.
Meaning like I see the base unit came from the basic data.
Right.
So it does not at the plant level.
Yeah.
Right? It is at the general data level,
Right.
which is at the higher level from the plant. Let us check which table that belongs to. Okay.
Yeah.
So basic data view, this is the technical info. And in this, you see table Mara. Mara, when you see, that is at the client level. How do we know whether it is at the client level or not, right? Just double click the table. You will see client and with a key as the checkbox.
Yeah.
Right? Meaning client is a part of the key data. Right?
Yeah.
And there is no plant in this which says that is also a key.
Yeah.
Meaning, if client is the key, the data what you see in the table is at that level.
Right.
Material you are seeing as a part of key. Meaning, at this client, you will see this material number unique. Right?
Yeah.
2978, when you see at that client, that will be unique across, and it is not repeated in the client. Right? So that is what is called a client level. And Mara is the client level data table. And in this, MEINS is the field name, right?
Yeah.
So Mara is the client level table, and MEINS is the field name for the unit of measure field that we selected, right? And then put the purchasing group. So purchasing group, we have created something called EA. What is that? AK01. AK01. Okay. AK01 is the material group, which AK1 is the material group we created. We created AK1, AK2, AJ1, AJ2. AK1 for material, AJ1 for materials also. Okay. So, let's see some more information here. If the material is maintained in batches, right, that we will be selecting. For example, you buy, say, medicine or bread or some milk, all these consumer products mostly, you will see batch managed. Why do we put batch management? Because there is some specific properties associated to that particular batch or lot we call that you need to care for. For example, milk can, if you buy, it will perish after a week, say, right? After the expiry date, that product has no use. You will have to throw away. Same way pharmacy products. So if you combine all the materials produced throughout the year into one bin, you never know which one will expire when, whether those are expired or not, or how much remaining shelf life is there for those materials. Right? So you need to track for the same material with something called batch. Batch B1, okay, produced on 1st of June. Batch B2 produced on 2nd of June. Batch B3 produced on 3rd of June. So when you produce, say it has a shelf life of 5 days, right? So first batch when you produced on June 1st has a shelf life of June 6th. Second, it has June 7th, like that. So unless you track it at the batch level, you will not be able to tell. So for such products where it is critical to measure attributes and of shelf life, for example, or it can be some chemical properties, like when you produce something, every time replicating exactly precise and the same attributes in the process is virtually impossible. And secondly, even if you think you have produced, you just can't measure, because there is no single instrument in the world that will measure exactly. There is something called least count. You will learn in the instruments and all, etc. Right? So you can measure up to say 0.2, 0.02 millimeter precision using a vernier calipers, but that is also not sure. So where is the question of exact? You cannot. So you can neither produce nor there are anything available in the world as of now which can measure exactly. So that is called a tolerance, right? So you will try to produce, but attributes keep changing. So that's the reason in each batch you will measure what are all the important attributes to be counted and compared from one batch versus the other, apart from the date, right? Got it? So that is why the batch management is used. For valves, I don't see a need for batch management, right? It is rough from the mechanical perspective. And there are, say, goods receipt processing time, right? Goods receipt processing time, let's say, when you receive the material at warehouse entry point, say, for example, truck came and they downloaded the carton of the material at the warehouse doorsteps, right, in the receiving zone. So from that point onwards, how much time you need to unpack it, to verify, to keep that, to complete your quality inspection and to keep it into the warehouse bin once accepted. All that, how much time it takes, you'll be putting it in the GR processing time. Remember, this is not the only material you will be dealing with. Out of your thousands of raw material or other products coming in and going out, you will be dealing with this as one of the products, right? So let's say GR processing time for me takes 2 days to unpack, to verify, to count it and put it in the proper bin. All say takes 2 days. So what it does is, when I receive a material, to make it available in the bin, only if it is available in the bin, I will be able to give it to my store. I will be able to give it to production, and then only I will be able to sell it. Right? So all these things will be considered. For example, if a shop floor requires this wall, say on June 18th, right? Today being June 8th, so 10 days, right? Assume that vendor requires 2 days for shipping. Meaning, if you place an order on 14th of June, then he will take 2 days and you will take 2 days in the warehouse from the GR process. So you need to put the order on 14th. That then you will make this product raw material available for shop floor on 18th in the bin, right? So that is how calculation will be done. You don't really order 10 days in advance because it will lock up your finance, right?
Yeah.
You will be paying the vendor once the product is received. So it will be a dead inventory for your warehouse. So that is called inventory controlling and inventory optimization or stock optimization. So these all you will learn slowly, right? So when to place order, all those things will be covered, and that will use this GR processing time, right?
Yeah.
And when you receive it, should it be posted to inspection stock or not will be checked by this.
Okay.
If I say yes, post it to inspection stock at the time of receiving for stock into warehouse, it will put it into inspection stock, right? And we will come back to the other areas later. And then I go to MRP1, right? A purchasing view, a purchase order text.
Yeah.
So purchase order text, I want to update saying like a, I would say handle with care, something. So this will go as the text in the purchase order header when I place a PO for this.
Okay.
How nice it is. So vendor will, and I can even write say, then MRP1. So MRP1 views is like materials requirement planning. When I need a material procurement for this, how it should behave, right? Say for example, there is something called MRP type, right? In the MRP type, you can check. There is something called VB and PD. So VB, let's go to VB, is manual order point, reorder point planning. Okay. So manual reorder point planning means like, for example, if there is a stock falling from a particular level, say I want to keep some stock always in the warehouse, say 10 walls I want to put it, because I know there is a continuous demand for the material is needed, and if it is not there, my loss of losing business or because of non-availability of service to vendor on time, customer on time, I may be losing good name. I need to keep it, for example. So I will keep say 10 into stock. So for which, if I select manual reorder point planning, then it will make me a field mandatory. You will check now. Enter reorder point. Okay. So by selecting the particular value in MRP type VB, so in this MRP type, if I selected VB, that makes this field mandatory, right? So this is called dependency, field dependency, right? Okay. If I don't put VB there, you can check. It will not ask me to enter. Let's say there is something called ND, no planning, right? It will not ask me to enter that field. Okay. I'll go back there. So just to show you the dependency, we added there. That's right. Got it? So I will put back to VB, which is manual reorder point, which will make my reorder point entry. We will say specify the reorder point for reorder point planning, right? So reorder point, for example, I say 4, right? So when the stock falls below 4, it will trigger a requisition. When I run a materials requirement planning run, I'll explain what it is, right? It takes time, right? So for now, and there is something called Mrp Controller. So for all these planning of procurement proposals, what are all needed across the company, for this material, there is a Mrp Controller defined, somebody that is coded, and we assign this controller to this material. Like for example, there are so many, I say, how does it matter? We will create one letter. For now, we use say 000 Mrp Controller. Okay, those are configuration. And there is one more thing called Mrp Group. For now, just keep it aside, not needed. And when you select reorder point planning, there is something called lot size, right? So in the lot size, we specify whenever you need, say, an order to be triggered when the stock falls below, say, the reorder point 4 in the system, how much should be placed an order to vendor, right? So you might place an order for, say, 6, because vendor may supply only in a pack of 6, assume. So even if you need 2, you can place order of only 6, because vendor does not take more than below 6. Huh? It enter. Right. So that's the question. It enter. Lot size 6 is not defined. Oh, this is exact. This is another key actually. I'll explain what it is. There are 2 ways to define this. It can be exact lot, meaning you need to, you place order for 2. Whereas fixed lot size is always fixed order quantity, FX, is always going to tell how much vendor wants always. Say here you say 6. So it doesn't matter how many you want, you can place as an order of 6 only. Got it? So that is this field again control which field should be filled. That fixed value. Value of the lot size controlled fixed lot size quantity here. And if I selected a different value in lot size, it would have made me make entries into other fields, right? So that is called field dependency, right? Then this is MRP2. In this, you can see the procurement type. Procurement type, you will see 2 different values mainly. F for external procurement, meaning I buy it from the vendor, and E for in-house production. So this walls I may be manufacturing also internally within the company. Then it will create a production order instead of a purchase order, right? So that is why I select whether this raw material is procured from external or produced internal. And I procure. So I will put F.
Is there an option to reduce internal?
That is what is. Procure internally is nothing but if you put F, you can always procure from outside. In-house production, and it is basically like in-house production is nothing but procuring internal. You are procuring internal. Yeah, right. And if you want to put both external and internal, it will simply create something called a planned order on the MRP, and you will convert either it into purchase requisition or production order, depending upon your decision at that time. Right? Your production has capacity, you may create a planned order, production order. If production doesn't have a capacity and you need it urgently, you may procure it from external. Right? So there you will use external both procurement. Right? So external is external procurement from vendor. In-house production is internally produced. If you want to use for a material both sides possible, you select X. Right? So let's put external procurement for now, which will produce, which will be from external vendor. And the planned delivery time I entered as a mandatory value. Again, this is the delivery time required by the vendor. That's what made it, right? Okay. So far so good, going good. And then plant data, storage location data. So in this is the shelf life data, etc. For engine wall, you may not need all these things, so we'll keep it aside for now. Okay. And plant location storage. See, the gross weight, net weight came from the basic data view. Because you store it in the storage location, say you are storing it in this plant in the storage location, weights are important for the storage, so it came from there. If we maintain volume and dimensions, that would also come here.
Yeah.
And the QM view. So in the quality inspection, what we activated at the purchasing view came here into stock.
Yeah.
And in addition, we can create something called inspection lot. At this time, it is too much. So I will leave it. We will simply tag it when received as quality.
Okay.
And that's all. No inspection lot will be created. Okay. And then I will put to accounting. And in the accounting view, here we specify what is the valuation class for this material in this plant, right? So assume that the accounting view, I'm selecting 3000 raw materials. This will define what is the stock account that is going to be debited at the time of receiving the material, right? And whether it is a moving average price or standard price. So this price control will tell whether this product is to be priced with a fixed value at the time of receiving. Say, for example, I put, say, $150 for this material. So if I receive 2 walls, it will value the stock at $300.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I put this accounting data. Nothing is there. So all done, just saving. It is going to create the material 2978. Right?
Yeah.
Consume material 2978 created. Now, if I want to display this once again to run through, this is the material. You can see the transaction is MM03 now. It was MM01 when I created. Now you can see at the bottom, it is MM03 transaction code. Here you can see always which transaction code you are in.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So at 2973, 2978, enter, select the views that you want to display. MRP1, MRP2, storage, accounting. You want to save these default settings, save. So every time when you come to this transaction, this will be pre-selected.
Yeah.
And organization levels also you can define, predefine. And you can change always. AK01. So for example, save the default values, right? So next time when I come here, I don't have to select, I don't have to enter those values. By default, it will come. I just need to change it if I want, right? And there is one more thing here. I will go here to basic data view. And in beside the description, you can see I information. You click it, you will see some information that you don't see on the screen, on this main screen. You see here industry sector M, material type ROH, who created, what was the date when it was created, which views were maintained, which views were changed, etc. Right? So this information you don't see in the main screen, but only in this information. Right? And you can display any changes, etc. done on this material in the display changes menu. Double click this, it will show all the changes. Right? So that is the stats. Right? And this system and help menu, these two will be there always throughout SAP screen, wherever you go, in whichever module, whichever screen, these two will be there mandatorily. Right? Very good. So then we go to the configuration for the material type to discuss certain things there. So in the material type configuration, where you go, SPRO, transaction, and in this, in the reference IMG, go to the logistics general. And in the logistics general, go to the material master, go to the basic settings. And here you have this something called material types. Right? So go to define attributes of material types. Here, put the position ROH, which which I want to check. For this material type I used and created the material, right?
Yeah.
So choose, it will show the display content in that. This field reference controlled the which fields I was able to use in the material while creating using this material type ROH, right? And you will see these views were allowed to be created using this material type, right? So this one was not selected, so I was not able to see this view possible to create. Production resource tools, that was not allowed.
Yeah.
And all other views were allowed.
Right.
The external purchase orders, say 2, meaning external purchase orders are allowed for this material when you create using this material type ROH, where I selected the value 2 here, right? And this material, when you create using ROH, the default price control V will be defaulted. That's what we saw in the accounting. I changed it to S, standard, right?
Yeah.
So, and account category reference is going to control what are the possible valuation classes in the material master in the accounting view, right?
Okay.
If you go back to the material master screen accounting view for this material that I just created, you see this defaulted. You see this default. Right? I go to the accounting view. See here valuation class. When I click, there are so many valuation classes configured in the system, but I see here 4 plus 4 only 8.
Yeah.
Why 8? Because this 0001 is assigned with those 8 valuation classes, and those will be displayed. You will not be allowed to use any other valuation class than these 8, right? So those are controlled by this account category reference. So you will understand it later. Okay. And this material type is updated in the system by valuation area. Valuation area was plant.
Yeah.
And here value also updated at the plant level. Right?
Yeah.
So when you select these two, it will let you maintain something called quantity value update.
Yeah.
So whether you will be able to update the value and quantity, or whether value or quantity, whatever you want, by checkboxes for the particular material type in your plant is controlled here. Say for our plant, right? And for say ROH, how it is maintained? You have updated both quantity and value level. That is the reason you are able to maintain the accounting view with that standard price. When you have put the price, right? 150. When you start using that in the inventory transaction, it will update the quantities and the total value in the accounting view based on these two configurations.
Okay.
Only when these two are available, activated, you will be able to do the inventory transaction with the quantity and value update. Right? So that's the control. So this is the material type configuration, and there is what else we have? And material number ranges we have already seen. So that's all for you to understand from the material master data view. Thank you guys, and we will see you again later. Yeah.
Previous user 999 use in a week.
Yeah.
Have external guy.
అది మనం చెక్ బట్టి చెక్ బాక్స్ ఒకటి ఉంది కదా మర్చిపోయా అప్పుడే.
చూసింది గుర్తుందా?